Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we're going to do another mock draft. With us only a couple of weeks away from the draft, we're going to do a quick mock draft doing the top 24 picks. Who picks where and who picks who? We'll get to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Nintendo Talk channel. Before we get into this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank all of your support and I'll be able to with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so I'll discuss in today's video. Now, as usual, I'm going to do another mock draft video here. I'm going to do one more right before the draft, probably a week before, maybe after the Stanley Cup Final happens, or if it's not done yet, maybe just before the Stanley Cup Final finishes. But I'm going to be doing one here right now, and then also going to be doing another one not just in the future. But we're going to do another mock draft here. I'm going to throw in a little wrench into my mock draft here. I'm actually making a couple of mock trades as well. So I'm going to be doing a couple of trades that I could foresee happening that might shift up the draft order a little bit here. So take that into account. But we're going to draft 1 through 24 today. So at 1 we have San Jose, 2 Chicago, 3 Anaheim, 4 Columbus, 5 Montreal, 6 Arizona, 7 Ottawa, 8 Seattle, 9 Chicago, 10 New Jersey, 11 Buffalo, 12 Philadelphia, 13 Minnesota, 14 San Jose via the Pittsburgh Penguins, 15 Detroit, 16 St. Louis, 17 Washington, 18 Chicago via the Islanders, 19 Vegas, 20 Islanders via Tampa, 21 is LA, 22 is Nashville, 23 is Toronto, and 24 is Colorado. So there are going to be a couple of changes here with my mock trades in this mock draft, but let's get started here with the number 1 overall pick, which is the San Jose Sharks. And there will no doubt in my mind be taking the consensus number 1 overall pick, Macklin Celebrini. Celebrini is a 6 foot, 190 pound center, really good, versatile player. He seems to be eventually going to be a solid top line center, maybe not to the extent that Connor Bedard was for the Blackhawks this past year, but he's going to be a really good player. I wouldn't call him exactly franchise changing, but he's going to be an extremely high level player. Put up 32 goals and 64 points in 38 NCAA games this year, looked fantastic. So I expect him to go first overall, and there's no change there. Sharks are happy to get their first time in franchise history to get the first overall pick, and they take Macklin Celebrini to eventually have a 1-2 punch of Celebrini and Smith down the middle. Number 2 overall, we have the Chicago Blackhawks. And I know a lot of people think Demidov might go here, but I have him dropping a little bit in this mock draft, and I have them taking Artem Levshunov. Now, the Blackhawks have a couple of really good forward prospects, such as Frank Nazar, Connor Bedard, as we just talked about, but they don't have a bunch of really good defensive prospects, not a ton of on the right side. They have Korchinski, who's a really good guy. They also have Sam Renzel, who I think eventually could be a solid third, second pair defenseman, but besides that, they don't really have a whole bunch. So I had them going over here and taking Artem Levshunov. Levshunov, 6 foot 2, 209 pound defenseman, put up 9 goals and 35 points in 38 NCAA games as a defenseman. Looked fantastic. I think Levshunov seems to be sort of like a Reinbacher of this draft, solid top 4 right shot defenseman, big size, and I think Levshunov will be a really good fit there in Chicago long term. So I had him going there. At 3rd overall, I have the Anaheim Ducks, and I know there's a lot of talk about them taking a defenseman here. I could see them go after a defenseman, but I had them going after big forward Caden Lindstrom. Now, Lindstrom might play center at the NHL level. If he was drafted by the Ducks, I think he could go to the wing. He's a very good forward. He's 6'4", 216 pounds, put up 27 goals and 46 points in 32 WHL games. Did have some injury trouble this year, but looked pretty good. I think in Anaheim, he should be a solid top 6 forward. Maybe he plays in the wing. Maybe he plays as a center, not exactly sure, but he's a big body, big size, and that could be something that the Ducks are a little bit lacking at this point in time. So they have a couple of decent defensive prospects. I have them going after a solid top forward prospect here in Caden Lindstrom. At 4th overall, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. I have them stopping his fall. Ivan Demidov goes to Columbus. Now, I don't think this is too much of a surprise. Jackets have a lot of really good Russian players, including Yuri Chinnikov, Marchenko, Voronkov, Provorov. So they have a lot of really good Russian players. Lots of Russian connections there. Demidov's 5'11", 168 pounds, put up 23 goals and 60 points in 30 MHL games this past year, which was a lower league in Russia. Looks like he could eventually be a solid top 6 forward. Very versatile, very mobile, really good elusive player. I think eventually Demidov is viewed as like a solid, maybe top 6 forward. Even though they have to wait a couple of years for him to come over from Russia, I think the Jackets are willing to wait. So I have the Jackets taking Demidov. Now, this is where my mock trades first happen. Now, I'm going to get into this just a couple of minutes later, but basically the consensus over here is the Calgary Flames have traded up, and they've swapped picks with the Montreal Canadiens. And I'll get to the full trade in a second, but the Montreal Canadiens have traded down from 5 to 9, and the Calgary Flames have traded up from 9 to 5. And with the 5th overall pick now in their possession, the Calgary Flames are going to take TJ Gendlin. Now, there's a lot of talk that Iginla may go high in this draft, and the Flames may not be able to get him at number 9, so they avoid that potentiality, and they trade up and get Iginla at number 5 overall. And this is going to be a really good pickup there for the Flames. Iginla, who played in 64 games in the WHL, 47 goals, 84 points, looks like a very fantastic player, 6 foot, 185 pounds. He's going to be a really good player. We'll go to the same organization his dad Jerome played for in Calgary. I think he should be a very fantastic, elusive top 9 forward. I think he could eventually fit in the top 6 with guys like Huberdeau, Serengovic, on top of younger guys like Pelletier, Coronado, and Zary. So I think that's a pretty good pickup there for Calgary, and a decent trade to pick up the 5th overall pick and get Iginla. At 6th overall, we have the Utah franchise. Still no name for this franchise, but I do still have them taking Anton Silayev. Silayev, who is 6'7", 207 pounds, really massive blue liner. Once again, probably a guy who's going to have to wait a couple of years before he comes to the NHL, but he had 3 goals, 11 points, 63 games, really good mobile for his size. It's sort of like a Zadorov in some senses, where he's very mobile, can shoot the puck, has a really good shot. So I think the Utah franchise is able to add him here. It's a pretty good pickup there for Utah. Solid top 4 defenseman. Gonna have to wait a couple of years for him to get over there, but with that blue line where it is right now, I think they could definitely use a more mobile, bigger bodied defenseman on that team. So that's a pretty good pickup there for the Utah franchise. At number 6, at number 7, we have the Ottawa Senators. I have them taking Zane Parik. Parik, who's a right shot defenseman, a lot of people think will be going in the top 10 of this draft. I have him going to Ottawa. You know, the Senators really need to start balancing out the right and left side of their defense. Parik, I think, eventually could be a solid top 4 right shot defenseman, maybe even a D partner for Jake Sanderson eventually. So that's a pretty good pickup there, in my opinion, for the Senators. Parik, who's 6 feet, 181 pounds, had 33 goals and 96 points in 66 games over in the OHL this past year. Looked fantastic. So I expect Parik to be a very fantastic pickup there for Ottawa. Eventually, a solid top 4 defenseman. Could definitely put up some offense. Really good two-way defenseman. So I think this is a really good pickup there for the Senators. At 8th overall, we have the Seattle Kraken. Didn't make the playoffs this year, a little bit of a lower draft pick, and they're going to be able to take Zeev Buium with their 1st overall pick. Now, Buium, who's 6 feet, 183 pounds, put up 11 goals and 50 points in 42 NCAA games this past year, looked fantastic, really good offensive defenseman. Could, I think, be another good defenseman, just like Riker Evans, to eventually fill out the top 4 in Seattle. So that's a pretty good pickup there, in my opinion, for the Kraken. Get another solid defenseman to round out that defense, of course. That's a pretty good pickup there, and I think with them already having so many good forward prospects, they go on the defensive side here and get Buium. 9th overall, we now have the Montreal Canadiens. Now, the full trade works out here. So first, the New Jersey Devils trade in the package the 10th overall pick to the Calgary Flames in exchange for Jacob Markstrom. So I'm not exactly sure what all will go on here, but I'm saying that Markstrom will be dealt to the New Jersey Devils in exchange for a 10th overall pick. There could be other pieces involved here, but those are the 2 main pieces. And then with the 10th overall pick, the Flames are able to deal the 10th and the 9th overall picks to the Montreal Canadiens in exchange for a 5th overall pick. Now, once again, there might be a couple of other pieces involved here. Might be a little bit of a bigger trade. Maybe the Flames get another defensive prospect. Maybe there's a couple of other pieces involved here. But basically, the Devils move the Flames the 10th overall pick, and then the Flames move the 10th and the 9th overall pick to the Montreal Canadiens for a 5th overall pick. So we just talked about how the Flames took Iginla with the 5th overall pick. At the 9th overall pick, with the Montreal Canadiens not picking there, we have them taking Cole Eiserman. Now, Eiserman is someone who a lot of people were expecting was going to go top end of the draft. With the Canadiens not having any chance of getting Lindstrom or Demidov in this mock draft, they go after Eiserman. Solid 6 feet, 196 pounds, put 58 goals and 89 points in 57 development program games. Looked pretty good. I think of Eiserman, if he can round out his game a little bit more, it could be eventually a solid player, but he's got a fantastic shot. A lot of people would compare him to Matthews, an Ovechkin level shot. He's going to score 40 to 50 goals at NHL level. I know he might be sort of a one-trick pony, but he's still going to be a really good goal scorer. So I have Eiserman going to the Canadiens at 9th overall. Now, the Canadiens flipped the 10th overall pick again, so after the Devils moved it to the Flames moved it to the Canadiens moved the 10th overall pick to the Anaheim Ducks in a trade that gets them Trevor Zegras. Now, that's a really good trade in my opinion. They're able to get Trevor Zegras, who's on the block apparently right now. It seems like he's going to be a really good pickup there for whoever is able to grab him. With the Canadiens now having an extra top-end pick, they flip him to Anaheim once again. Probably some more pieces that are going to be involved around this, but I have Zegras going to Montreal. Montreal giving the 10th overall pick to Anaheim. So the Ducks, who have already taken Kane Lindstrom, 3rd overall, now have the 10th overall pick, and they are going to be taking Sam Dickinson. Now, Dickinson, like we said, solid top-end defenseman, has some really good offensive upside, had 18 goals and 70 points in 68 OHL games this year, 6'3", 394 pounds, really good mobile defenseman on the bigger side of things. I think eventually should be a solid top pair defenseman who has some really good offensive upside. So in my opinion, that'll be a perfect pickup for the Ducks team, who, once they move Drysdale, is a little bit lacking on the defensive prospect, and the fact that they already got Lindstrom Markstrom leaves them open to get another solid defensive prospect here at 10th overall. And I have Anaheim taking Dickinson, who I think will be a really good addition there to their blue line. So that's pretty good. At 11th overall, we have another trade. And this is the Buffalo Sabres trading the 11th overall pick to Carolina Hurricanes in a trade package that will bring them Martin Necas. And I think Necas will be a fantastic fit in Buffalo. Could be a solid top 6 forward, exactly what they're looking for. Could be helping them score some more goals. But in the purpose of this mock draft, we're looking at who the Carolina Hurricanes will pick with the 11th overall pick. And I have Tim taking another Finnish player in Konsta Helenius. Helenius is going to join a group that has a lot of Finns already on them. Helenius is a center right winger, 5'11", 181 pounds. Really good player. 14 goals, 36 points in 51 games over in Liga. Looks like eventually it could be a solid top 9 forward there for Carolina, and with them having a lot of potential changeover this offseason, having Helenius be up there in a year or two will be a fantastic addition there for Carolina, and a really good consolation prize for moving on from Martin Necas. So I have Carolina taking Helenius at 11th overall. At 12th overall, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. I have them keeping their pick, and I have them taking right shot defenseman Carter Yakimchuk. Yakimchuk, who I think is a really good defenseman, 6'3", 194 pounds, 30 goals, 71 points, 66 games. Look, eventually could be a solid top 4 right shot defenseman. Could fit in extremely well with the core group of York, Sanheim, and Drysdale. Could really round out that top 4 on the defensive end. So I think it's a pretty good pickup there for the Flyers to get Yakimchuk on the right side. Then 13th overall, I have the Minnesota Wild, and I have them taking forward Berkeley Catan. Catan, who at one point had 5th overall, I think falls a little bit here. Probably given his smaller stature, 5'11", 163 pounds, but did put up 54 goals and 116 points in 68 WHL games. Looks like eventually could be a solid middle 6 scoring forward, sort of like a Benson or a Caulfield, where he's on the smaller side, but he can put up some really good numbers. So I think Catan in Minnesota will be really good to add him to a core group that already has guys like Kaprizov and Rossi and Boldy. I think it would be fantastic for the Wild, and I think with them already having some pretty good defensive prospects, they add another 4 prospect here in Catan. Then 14th overall, the San Jose Sharks via the Pittsburgh Penguins, thanks to the Erik Karlsson trade, and I have the Sharks after already taking Celebrini earlier in the draft, taking Adam Jiricek. Jiricek is a solid defenseman. We know the Sharks don't have a ton of defensive prospects, especially elite level ones, so I have them taking Jiricek here. Jiricek, who's 6'2", 168 pounds, had an assist in 19 Czechia games this year. Looks like eventually could be a solid top 4 defenseman, just like his brother David is in Columbus. I think he could be a fantastic pickup there for the Sharks, so I have them going with Jiricek. At 15th overall, I have the Detroit Red Wings, and I have them going with right winger Liam Greentree. Greentree, who's 6'2", 198 pounds. Looks to be a solid, maybe sort of power forward type player in the top 6 for Detroit. Really fit in well with guys like Raymond, Larkin, DeBrincat in that forward group long term. He had 36 goals, 90 points, 64 games this year over in the OHL, and I think he's going to fit in extremely well with Detroit. So I have him going there to Detroit at 15th overall. At 16th overall, I have a swap of draft picks. Now this isn't a big trade like we just discussed over the past little while, but this is just a swap. The Chicago Blackhawks have acquired the 16th overall pick from the Blues in exchange for the 18th overall pick, so just a little bit of a swap there. The Blackhawks trade up to now Michael Brantzig-Nygaard. Now Nygaard, who I think a lot of people think could go maybe in the top half of the draft, winds up falling the 16th over here, and the Blackhawks are able to get him. He's 6'1", 198 pounds, coming off a year where he had 8 goals and 18 points in 41 Allsvenskan games. Looks like a pretty good prospect. I think eventually Brantzig-Nygaard will be a solid top 9 forward and could be a really good player to play with a guy like Connor Bedard in that top 6 of the Chicago Blackhawks, and Oliver Moore and Frank Nazar. So after already taking Levchinov with the 2nd overall pick, they now take Brantzig-Nygaard. At 17th overall, we have the Washington Capitals. I have them going also in the defensive direction here, and I have them taking brother of Lane Hudson from Montreal, Cole Hudson. Hudson's been a really good defenseman over in the NCAA. Put up 15 goals and 51 points in 51 games. 5'10", 159 pounds, another really good offensive type defenseman, and something I think that the Capitals really lack a little bit. They have a really good offensive defenseman like Carlson and Sandin, but besides that, not really a whole bunch there, and definitely not a lot coming up in their prospect pool, so I have the Caps going after Hudson. At 18th overall, I have the St. Louis Blues to trade down to the 18th overall pick, probably get a couple of extra picks. And I have them taking Trevor Connolly from USHL. Now Connolly looks to be a solid top middle 6 winger eventually. At 6'1", 161 pounds, he looks like he's going to be a really good playmaking forward. Put up 31 goals and 78 points in 52 USHL games this year. Looks like eventually could be a solid player there for the Blues, so they take him at 18th overall. At 19th overall, we have the Vegas Golden Knights. They're the host of this draft. Could see him maybe do something with this pick, but for the sake of this mock draft, they have them keeping their pick, and I have them going after forward prospect Tarek Periskak, who is a 5'11", 179-pound right winger, put up 43 goals and 105 points in 68 games. Looks like eventually could be a solid playmaking forward there for the Golden Knights. Golden Knights may have to move off some pieces over the next couple of years with their cap situation. Could use another top-end prospect, so I have them going after Periskak here. At 20th overall, we have the Islanders. We talked about this a little while ago. They traded down to 20th overall, and they wind up taking from Medicine Hat of the WHL, Andrew Basha, who had 30 goals and 85 points in 63 games this year. 6 foot, 185 pounds. Looks like eventually could be a solid power type forward for the New York Islanders. Could use another offensive weapon in the prospect pool who can try and score some more goals for that team. So I have them going after Basha. At 20 overall, we have the LA Kings. Now they have a lot of forward prospects, especially on the center group. They don't have as many defensive prospects, so I have them going a little bit off the board here and taking Aaron Kiviharju, who at one point was projected to be the top overall pick. Kiviharju was 5'10", 172 pounds, had a goal and an assist and 2 points in 7 Liga games. I still think eventually Kiviharju could be a solid top 4 defenseman there for the Kings, more on the offensive side of things. Maybe a little bit on the smaller side, but I think the Kings take a stab here and take him at 21st overall. At 22nd overall, I have the Nashville Predators. We know that they could probably use a little bit more offensive prospects in their system, and I have them taking Beckett Seneke, who winds up falling to them at 22nd overall. He's a 6'2", 181-pound right winger, played 63 games over in the OHL, 27 goals, 68 points. Looks like eventually could be a very fantastic top 6 right winger, maybe sort of a more physical type forward, uses his body pretty well, can also score some pretty good goals, so I think that's a pretty good pickup there for the Predators. At 23rd overall, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs. You know, they were trying to rework their blue line a little bit, and I have them getting some help there. I have them keeping their pick, and I have them taking right shot defenseman Henry Muse, who's 6 feet, 185 pounds, played over in the OHL, 65 games this past year, 15 goals, 61 points. Looks like eventually could be a solid second, maybe even first pair offensive defenseman, plays on the right side, something they're really missing right now, and I think he could be available here at 23rd overall for the Leafs. So I have them taking Henry Muse at this position, and then lastly here for this mock draft at 24th overall, we have the Colorado Avalanche, and I have them taking Russian winger Igor Chernyshov. Chernyshov was 6'2", 296 pounds, had 22 games over in the MHL this past year, put up 13 goals, 28 points. I think eventually could be a solid top 6, top 9 winger. Could be another really good Russian player to sort of help round out that top 9 in Colorado long term. So I think that could be a pretty good pickup there for the Colorado Avalanche. But that's my opinion on this mock draft. What do you think about this mock draft? What do you think about the potential mock trades I made of Markstrom going to New Jersey for the 10th overall pick, of the Flames moving the 10th and the 9th toward the 5th, of the Canadiens moving the 10th to get Zegras, of the Sabres moving the 11th to get Natchez, of the Blues and the Hawks swapping 16th and 18th. Definitely, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think about those mock trades. What do you think about my mock draft? Do you think those guys go where they go? Do you think I have some too high, some too low? Love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. And what do you think could be some trades we see at the trade deadline? And where do you think we could see these players go? If you don't have them where I'm putting them, where would you put all these prospects in the 1 to 24 mock draft? Definitely love to hear your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. So I'm going to talk about for today. We're going to this video, and if you're like to remember to subscribe down below. Thank you for your support and able to love you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below discussing today's video. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff for that, so don't forget to check that out. Leave a link down in the description below, and I can't see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.